back out on the bike again. Noticeable difference when we got a pillion on, but it handles it quite well. So we've got 109 mile range, 110% charge. Basically means it is fully charged. Now, I've had this bike for a while now, so what I find, it really is like anything, how you ride it. So, if you have it in sport mode and go herring around like a lunatic, it'll eat the battery. That will go down. Although the speed of the bike is really something you need to keep aware of. Now, when I was coming down on the motorway, I started like this, 110, and I managed to time it absolutely spot on to the charging point with 2% of battery left. And I did the maths based on the odometer, and I did 112 miles on that first charge. Now if you're doing a long trip, what I've found is 60. So there is a limiter, and if you set it to 60 and find a truck, if you just match the speed to the truck, activate the cruise control and just sit behind it. Use the truck as a massive windbreak, and that makes a huge difference. So far as I can tell. Obviously we're going to have the journey back as well, which will also help. Going to be planning it tonight to account for stopping, because it is going to be slightly different. So see what excitement awaits us. But weight does seem to have a massive impact on this as well. So, let's see what we got. We got 4238, I think that is. 4288, sorry. So we'll see. It claims 109. I've found don't rely on that range, because if you're slow and doing 30, that range goes up. The battery percentage is the more reliable indicator, as well as the road modes, because obviously it's got a lot of regen on the eco mode. You've got the neutral regeneration, you've got braking regeneration, although I have found that on this bike the neutral regeneration is a lot like engine braking. It is slowing you down. Now this one does have a 17.3 kilowatt battery. Not going to lie, don't know what that means. It's got the quick charge tank on it, so I don't have the storage underneath where a tank would normally be. But it does mean I can charge quicker. Now, it's not for everyone. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's what you use your bike for. Now, I've found, personally, commute to work is ideal. The missus uses it to commute to work. You know, it's fine for her as well. So, we can just plug it in once it gets to about 30%, plugging it in, and it's ready to go the next day. And as I say, I do find we're getting in the region of about 100 miles a day. A charge. Now the handling, I haven't set this up yet, but all operators, owners manuals and service manuals are online and free to access, and the manual does tell you how to do everything. It tells you how to set the bike up correctly, it tells you how to take the whole thing apart, put it back together. You know, it doesn't cost any more. Arguably for a bike of this price you should be getting stuff like that if you're inclined to do your own work on bikes. So like I say, you just sit behind a truck and the crosswinds will be hilarious. But we're not finding, it's the pushing through the air. Obviously the faster you go, the exponentially more air you got to push through. That's why the faster you go, the quicker you lose the battery. You know, you need the energy to push through. But we've got a truck in front of us and it's pushing the air through, so it won't be any, I mean it's a short ride anyway, so it won't really matter. So what I might do is just switch it to sport mode. Close the throttle, open the throttle, we're now in sport mode. That easy. This now gives us a minimal regeneration, maximum power, maximum torque. So we get a small gap, I will be bombing past, assuming we get a small gap, and it's obviously legal and safe to do so. Doing any kind of distance on a zero, yes you can do it, but what you got to do is, as I found out, is plan the charging points. Oh fuck no, what a horrible bloody road this is. Because some of them, where I stopped at one services, I charged it fully, but it didn't quite give me the range to get to the next services with the fast charge. I had to find one at a sort of a top up, and that just ate into my time. And you know, if you're in a group, there'll be people that won't want to wait around for you, because half your journey will be waiting for it to charge. There's no getting around that. But I find, because I'm more of a lone rider anyway, don't bother me. It is what it is at the end of the day. And how often am I actually going to do a north-east to south-east ride? Not all that often. I'm going to put this back to me. There is no point having bloody sport mode. Now, this surfing point, I'm happy. Whether I'll be happy in a year's time, we will see. But you're getting a lot of reviews with people who are just riding them just for a day or so. There's no one out there that seems to be living with it. I mean, you've got Mark Travels, who's using a Zero, the SRS, and he's travelling around the world. So, you know, he seems to be alright finding the charging points. But I think it's alright for that. You know, if I did a tour, like if I did a tour around Britain, you know, once you get to about 100 miles, you probably want to stretch your legs anyway. So throw it on charge, even if you charge it for an half an hour, where you can, you know, grab a bite at lunch, and then you just ride off again to your next, will probably be your stop for the night. I think you just got to be honest about how you ride it, and how, you know, what you get from the bike, what you want from motorcycling. Do you want a bike that you can go out with your mates, have a blast around some twisties, and generally have a laugh? If that's what you want, you don't want an electric bike, it's not for you. Alright mate. I don't know. I'm not here, I'm not preaching. Do what you want, I'm not bothered. It's all fun. At the end of the day, as long as you're on two wheels, who gives a hoot? But in answer to the short I posted, can you ride a Zero from the northeast to the southeast? Yes, you can. And you can do it in a day. Should you? Probably not. 300 miles is a push. So it did take me, I think in the end we worked it out, in the ballpark of 10 hours to do something that arguably would take 5. If I was on a normal motorcycle, it'd just be a 5-hour stint. Depends on the type of roads as well, because if you do a lot of A roads like this, and motorways and what have you, the range will go. There's no doubt about that. One thing I do love about it though, you can throw it round corners. It might be a big heavy bike, but it does have that low weight. So when you're on the twisties, gee, you can have some fun. Just got to be careful not to have too much fun, or the old bill will be after you. I'm not really a sports bike type of guy anyway. I'm not in that much of a hurry. And I've discovered the roads in the southeast have a lot of bloody speed limits anyway, so what's the point? You can have a laugh. Right, heated grips, hold it left, on it comes, flick it across, push the button, that easy. You can adjust the traction control, and I don't know, you can probably do the ABS as well. I just haven't figured that part out yet. I really need to read that manual again. But I do find, so far in my almost a week in the southeast, the charging infrastructure just isn't there. Trying to find Type 2 charging is a challenge. The fast charging does seem to be more available. The two options you got there, the DC charging, I say I'm seeing more right finding them, but finding Type 2 is yeah, you got to be careful. I did get caught out when I was heading back once cross country. I was up the M6. I thought I had the right charger selected. I pulled in, only to find they were all the DC charging and not the Type 2 AC charging, which I needed, which was somewhat annoying. But I got very lucky there, and the butcher let me use his charging point, and I was able to fully charge up with a free cup of tea, and was on my way, which it was an absolute lifesaver. And we had a good chat. It turned out the guy was a biker, so that's probably why. And he was very fascinated by the whole thing. So, but I'll tell you what, when you're on it, I don't really notice the difference between this and a combustion bike, a petrol bike. The only problem I find is I swear that guy was on his phone. Is the range. You suffer with that range anxiety quite a bit. That was a terrible point, I'll give you that. Especially when I'm on a motorway, you can't be sure what services have in terms of charging. But there are now apps out there, and I keep finding more and more, and I'm finding that you can add filters, so I plan the route. And to be fair, once I'm on the motorways, as long as you start looking at around 30%, you pull in, it's happy days. I think the challenge would be is finding somewhere when you're not at the services. But maybe next year we can start looking at doing a bit more, bigger distance, sort of weekends away, and see how we get on. That'd be a fun challenge. And the other thing I'm thinking, I'm not a huge lover of white, even though my last bike was white and this body's white. So I found that you can get vinyl wrap, and it's not exactly news, but yeah, so getting some vinyl wrap, and I got a couple of samples, and it looks very good, like a candy green and like a candy red. Now the missus wants a new bike, and she desperately wants the red one, so thinking get the vinyl wrap on it, put it green. Because if nothing else, that'd be hilarious. Well, it wouldn't be hilarious, but a green bike with the green credentials. We'll ignore the whole lithium mining element and the fact that it destroys half the fucking planet. And the other thing I find is Google is really getting on board, because they offer energy efficient routes, which will be different to petrol. So obviously petrol, you want to sort of, if you want maximum miles per gallon, you're looking at doing somewhere in the ballpark of 55. There's an example of the range. So at one point it was down to 109, now we're back to 111. Whereas the battery is down to 101%.